If you lived in Brazil from the 1950s through the 2000s, it's almost impossible for your childhood not to have been shaped by a four-pointed yellow logo. Estrela didn't just sell plastic, cardboard and batteries. It sold the very embodiment of the Brazilian childhood dream. From Autorama to Banco Imobiliário, from Falcon to Genius, Estrela was the undisputed giant of the national industry. A brand that seemed unshakable, woven into the DNA of entire generations. However, what few Brazilians realized while looking to the past with nostalgia is that the production center of this dream factory moved. The toy giant opened the doors of its first manufacturing unit outside Brazil. And it wasn't in Asia, but just a few kilometers from our border in the Paraguayan city of Hernandarias. And Estrela is not alone in this movement. Lupo, Casten, Lunelli, JBS, and Erco Ercosso. These are some of the biggest, not the only ones, but the biggest, most traditional and most prosperous industrial companies in Brazil that are currently directing tens of millions of dollars in investment to the neighboring country. Meanwhile, in Brazil, the political and economic debate is intensifying around increasing the tax burden, regulatory rigidity, and proposals to tax capital. And while the super rich are discussed, Paraguay is quietly building an industrial oasis on the other side of the bridge. In this video, we will understand how the company that created the toys from your childhood was pushed out of the country. What are the overwhelming tax advantages of Paraguay? And why is Brazil facing a silent yet devastating exodus of its biggest industries? I'm Davi, and you're watching Encarando o Sobrenatural Oficial. And get ready, my brother, because now you're going to hear the whole truth that the media hides. To understand the impact of Estrela's move, we first need to understand the size of the empire she built in Brazil. The story begins in 1937 on Carneiro Leão Street in São Paulo, founded by the German immigrant Sigrid Field Adler and his partners. Estrela started as a small factory making rag dolls and wooden toys. At that time, Brazil imported almost everything it consumed in the leisure sector. Estrela realized long before anyone else that Brazil needed to industrialize children's dreams. With the end of the Second World War and the advent of plastic and electric motor technology in the 1950s and 1970s, Estrela stopped being a handcrafted manufacturer and became a manufacturing powerhouse.
The chair will continue. Super Massa Kit Peças da Estrela. Vira veste Colossos da Estrela. Colosso em rádio controle.
Super Banco Imobiliário. Estrela, a tradition of fun. The consolidation of Estrela in the 70s and 80s was an unprecedented phenomenon in the history of the Brazilian market. The company established a perfect symbiosis with the media, especially with broadcast television, which was entering the era of color transmissions at that time. Those who lived through that time remember perfectly the unmistakable sound and the commercial appeal of products that became a national craze. Autorama dos campeões, Nelson Piquet and Ayrton Senna. Autorama turned the Brazilian passion for motorsport, driven by idols like Emerson Fittipaldi, Nelson Piquet and Ayrton Senna, into a racetrack inside the living room. Getting an Autorama for Christmas was every child's biggest wish. Genius by Estrela. A game for anyone who's a genius. In 1980, Genius was released. Considered the first electronic toy in Brazil, with its colorful lights and synthesized sounds in the style of Simon Six, Genius sold thousands of units in just a few days. Lines at the doors of toy stores became routine. Porto Alegre.
Action Commandos!
More fun.
And much more modern. Super Game of Life is from Estrela.
Strawberry Shortcake Collection. A fragrant delight we never forget.
Estrela didn't just make toys. They dominated primetime TV slots. Sunday mornings and the children's shows on TV Globo, SBT and TV Manchete were bombarded with flawless commercials. The company had multi-million-dollar licensing contracts with global giants like Hasbro and Mattel, adapting the world's biggest hits for the Brazilian market. In its peak years during the 1980s and early 1990s, Estrela operated multiple industrial complexes and employed thousands of direct employees. The company was the largest customer for molded plastic and light electronic components in the toy sector in Latin America. But in the early 1990s, the economic winds in Brazil changed drastically. With the trade liberalization of the 1990s and the consolidation of the Real Plan, the Brazilian market was flooded with toys coming from Asia, especially China, manufactured with extremely low labor and tax costs. Literally, the Chinese worked for a plate of food. They were slaves. How could a company that has to comply with all the rules that Brazil requires compete? To try to survive, the national industry needed maximum efficiency, innovation, and above all, a competitive business environment. But what it found in Brazil was exactly the opposite: the consolidation of the so-called cost of doing business in Brazil. Producing in Brazil became a daily exercise in survival. The complexity of the Brazilian tax system requires large companies to maintain entire departments of lawyers and accountants just to be able to pay taxes correctly without getting hit with million-dollar fines. To make matters worse, operational costs have skyrocketed. Industrial electricity rates in Brazil have become some of the highest in the world. The logistics cost, based on road transport on poor highways, undermined any profit margin. In recent years, with the rise of new fiscal debates in Brazil, focused on increasing revenue and tax reform. With uncertain transitions, the maintenance of high interest rates, and proposals for higher taxes on capital and corporations, the industrial sector hit its breaking point. For Estrela and for dozens of other major manufacturing groups, the numbers simply stopped adding up. If keeping 100% of production on Brazilian soil means losing market share to imports or operating at a loss, the only rational solution was to look for a new manufacturing home. And that home was right next door, just across the Friendship Bridge. While Brazil kept tying itself in bureaucratic knots, Paraguay did its economic homework. The neighboring country, which for decades was seen by Brazilians only as a place to buy imported goods, developed one of the most aggressive strategies for attracting industrial investments in Latin America. The pillar of this transformation has a name: the Maquila Law, Law 1064/97 and Decree 9585/2000. The Maquila system works in a simple and brutally efficient way. A foreign company can set up a manufacturing facility in Paraguay and import all its machines and supplies without paying a single cent in import taxes. They assemble or manufacture the product on Paraguayan soil and export it back to Brazil or to the world, paying a single tax of only 1% on the locally added value. That's exactly what attracted Estrela's factory to Hernandarias. Just a few kilometers from Foz do Iguaçu, in a 6,500 square meter warehouse, the factory started by assembling products like the Dairy electric vehicle, using imported raw materials under the Maquila regime and exporting the final product to Mercosur countries. The cost savings are overwhelming. Electricity is up to 40% cheaper than in factories in São Paulo or the city of São Paulo. A young, highly disciplined workforce with payroll taxes drastically lower than those in Brazil, in addition to total exemption from corporate income tax on sales outside the country. As the commercial management of Estrela itself stated when visiting the Paraguayan factory, the quality of the workforce is excellent, operating costs are predictable, and bureaucracy is almost zero. And if you think Estrela is an isolated case, the situation is even more impressive. Paraguay already has hundreds of industries operating under the Maquila regime, and more than 80% of the capital driving this industrial boom comes from Brazil. Now let's take a look together at how 4 other giants of the Brazilian economy decided to pack their bags and cross the border. And I recommend that you do the same. Uppo is one of the most valuable and recognized brands in Brazil. It's practically synonymous with socks, underwear, and sportswear. Founded in Araraquara, in the countryside of São Paulo, the company faced enormous pressure to keep its profit margins competitive in the face of increasing imports and high domestic production costs. To meet the high market demand without passing on excessive price increases to Brazilian consumers, Lupo expanded its industrial operations by opening plants in Paraguay. The rationale was inescapable. The textile sector is extremely labor and electricity intensive. These are exactly the two factors where Paraguay offers an advantage, an unbeatable competitive advantage. By transferring a significant part of its weaving operations to the neighboring country, Lupo managed to produce socks and underwear at drastically reduced costs, importing the products to supply its huge network of stores in Brazil under Mercosur rules. Then we move on to Casten, the bed, bath and table linen sector. Founded in 1982 in Blumenau, Santa Catarina, Casten is the 6th oldest company in Brazil still in operation. A true institution of the bed, bath and table linens industry in Santa Catarina. Even with more than a century of manufacturing tradition in southern Brazil, Casten was not immune to the country's fiscal and production constraints. The company directed significant investments and expanded production lines in Paraguay, focusing on the manufacturing of high-volume products, such as its famous line of bath towels. By producing in Paraguay, Casten is able to easily import cotton and other inputs. It uses the cheap electricity from Itaito to power its heavy looms and re-export to the Brazilian and international markets, with a margin efficiency that would simply be impossible while keeping 100% of the structure within the Brazilian tax environment. And what about the JBS owned by Molusco Sun? The industrial migration trend didn't spare even the giants of agribusiness and animal nutrition, even those with government ties. The JBS Group, the largest protein processor on the planet, and Ercosul, one of the leaders in the pet food market, made heavy investments in opening and expanding industrial facilities in Paraguay. The animal feed and food processing sector requires large amounts of corn, soybeans, energy and transportation. Paraguay, being one of the largest agricultural producers in South America and having fixed corporate taxes of only 10% outside the Maquila regime and 1% within the Maquila regime, has become the perfect hub for the manufacturing of processed pet foods, which supply the Brazilian and South American markets. Then we move on to Lunelli, an industrial company in the clothing and fashion sector. This giant in the textile sector followed the same path. The Lunelli Group, headquartered in Santa Catarina and owner of major brands in fashion retail, set up modern manufacturing plants in Paraguay to accelerate its garment production and textile printing capacity. In the fashion sector, production speed and cost flexibility are decisive, while in Brazil, a clothing manufacturer deals with tax substitution, cascading state taxes, and ongoing labor bureaucracy. In Paraguay, the production process runs in a lean, fast, and competitive way. With this, for every factory that crosses the border to Paraguay, Brazil doesn't just lose the logo on top of the building. The country loses formal legally registered jobs, loses long-term tax revenue, and loses the ability to develop its own industrial technology. The great paradox of Brazilian economic policy is that, in the desire to increase state revenues by creating new fees, raising taxes on production, or designing strict policies on capital, the practical result is usually the flight of the tax base. Capital and industry are extremely mobile. In a globalized world, in Mercosur with the free movement of goods, if a country makes production an unbearable burden, the factory simply moves a few kilometers and sets up where it is welcome. Paraguay understood this masterfully. The Paraguayan government doesn't see industry as an inexhaustible source of revenue to be squeezed, but rather as an engine for job creation and national infrastructure development. The Workers' Party insists on controlling votes, and that's why they create a ton of social programs that not even first-world countries can afford to pay for. But here, it's one pathetic welfare handout after another. The result is the country going bankrupt, all in exchange for a project to stay in power. However, the story of Brinquedos Estrela is a true reflection of Brazil's transformations. The same factory that taught generations of Brazilian children to dream, to build cities in Banco Imobiliário, and to manage pretend finances, had to make a very real business decision in order not to disappear. Estrela is still alive in our memories and on store shelves. But its manufacturing soul now speaks Spanish, pays taxes in Guarani, and, why not say it, creates jobs for our neighbors. And we are literally left empty-handed. Here's something to think about. How long will Brazil keep exporting its biggest companies and importing the products they used to make here, providing a living for Brazilian families who could earn their money with dignity instead of relying on handouts? That's it for our video. These are harsh truths, but they are facts, my brothers. There's no guesswork here. It's not my opinion, it's what I like, it's what I think. Here, I'm as important as the fly on the horse's dung. And it's always like this when we are faced with facts. Our personal opinion has exactly that value. We may not like the facts and wish they were different, but facts don't change because of our will. If we really want different facts, we need to work to make that happen. And the first step, my brothers, is to make everyone aware that things can't go on the way they are. I insist and repeat here, this was not the time to be holding new elections. This was the time for people to be united in agreement that we can't go on as we are. Those who are in power and who often got there in shady ways are not just going to give up their position because people are unhappy. Either people show this in practice or things are going to get worse with each passing day. I'll stop here, my brothers. May God bless each of you. Thank you very much for honoring me with your presence. To give back, what I can do is make the best video possible, bringing you as much real information as I can, my dear brother. Now, I count on you to pass it on. May God be with you. Hugs, and we keep going together, always facing the supernatural, here on Encarando o Sobrenatural Oficial.